I still remember the exact second it hit me, that he never loved me back. Not really. Not as a brother, not even as a person. I was just useful. That realization didn't come in a dramatic explosion. It was quiet, almost polite. An email I wasn't supposed to see, a subject line. Move him off the pitch, he's done his part. And just like that, I knew I was disposable, replaceable, a tool. For 2 years I bled for him, built his company like it was ours. Late nights, skipped meals, panic attacks disguised as grind. I answered every call, picked up every piece, covered his messes. I convinced investors he was a genius, that he deserved the spotlight. And in return, he gave me silence, or worse, credit for things that didn't matter. He smiled in front of others, but when the room emptied, I became a shadow again. But this isn't just about him, it's about what he took from me. My career, my confidence, my parents. My mom used to call me her gentle warrior. Now she won't even look me in the eyes when I walk in the room. She thinks I abandoned the family, that I'm jealous, because that's what he told them. He rewrote the story, turned me into the villain in the very life I helped him build. And maybe I let it happen. Maybe I was so desperate for his approval. I never thought to protect myself. But, tell me, how do you fight for someone who was never fighting for you? How do you unlove your own brother? Before I can explain how everything shattered, I need to tell you what it used to be, what it felt like before the betrayal, when I thought we were a team, when I believed, stupidly, that blood meant loyalty. So, let me go back to the start, to the calm before everything went cold. It was one of those nights. You know the ones, when everything feels like it's going to fall into place. You're buzzing with the high of a dream finally within reach, and you don't even realize you're standing on a cliff, waiting to be pushed. Remember the exact moment it all unraveled. We were sitting in the office, the glow of the city lights outside. The kind of night that feels like the world is moving forward, and you're just lucky enough to be a part of it. We'd been working for hours, and he was excited. He was always excited when things went his way. But that night, it was different. He was more than excited. He was glowing. The success was finally here, the one we had been chasing for so long. And I had been with him every step of the way. I didn't ask for much. I never did. I didn't need a thank you. I just wanted a little recognition. A moment where he looked at me like I mattered, like we were partners. But I wasn't prepared for what came next. He sat there, looking at me with that smug grin of his, typing something on his laptop. I was leaning over his shoulder, helping him with some final adjustments on a pitch for a potential investor. His words came out so casually, so offhand, I almost didn't register them at first. You're not in this for the glory, right? You're just here to get things done, right? Something about the way he said it, the coldness in his voice, hit me harder than I could have ever expected. I froze. I don't know if it was the disbelief or the sudden sickening clarity that washed over me. Is that what he really thought? Was I just here for the work? Just a tool to get him where he wanted to go? I tried to shake it off. I really did. I told myself I was being dramatic, overthinking, but the next few days, they kept piling on top of each other. Small moments that added up like cracks in a foundation. Comments like, "You're doing great, but that's not the vision I had. You can stay in the background on this one. I'll take the lead." And then, the one that broke me. He called me into his office, told me I had to step back from a project we'd both been passionate about. "I need you to focus on the logistics part," he said. "Leave the big ideas to me." There it was again, the same words, the same undertone, like I was less than him, like my effort was nothing but a tool to fuel his rise, and I didn't even fight back. I should have stood up for myself. But I was too busy drowning in the belief that maybe I wasn't enough, that maybe I was being dramatic, that I was lucky to even be a part of it at all. That night, I made the mistake of trusting him. I told myself it was just a bump in the road. I told myself we were still family, still a team. But that was the lie. That was the beginning of the end. He didn't just take credit for my work. He took my worth. He used me, and I let him. I wish I could take back that moment. I wish I could have fought harder when I knew something was wrong. But I stayed silent, hoping it would pass. And that mistake, that silence, cost me everything. It didn't happen all at once. No, that would have been easier. It was a slow, painful unraveling, 1,000 little cuts that I didn't even notice until it was too late, until I had already bled out. The first change was subtle. One morning, I walked into the office, expecting the usual banter, the kind of conversations we used to have when things felt like we were in this together. But when I looked over at him, his face was different. Not angry, just home. It was the same. My parents had started asking questions. They could feel the shift in the air. My mom would look at me with that worried expression, like she could see something I couldn't, like she knew what was coming. But I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to admit that everything was falling apart. I remember one night, just a week after he pulled me off that project, we were sitting at the dinner table. The silence between me and him was so thick, it felt like it had its own weight. The worst part was, it wasn't even uncomfortable for him. It was like he didn't even care. Like it didn't matter that we used to be close. That we used to laugh about everything. Then my mom asked me about the company. "How's it going, honey? Are you still involved in the big project?" It was the way he looked at her when she said it. There was this coldness in his eyes, like he was annoyed, that she even asked about me. It was in that moment that I realized I had been erased. He had taken everything from me, piece by piece, and no one even noticed. Or maybe they did, but it was easier for them to believe I was the problem. Maybe he had already planted that seed. My parents didn't understand. And to be honest, I didn't understand either. How could I explain something that didn't make sense? How could I tell them that my own brother had systematically broken me down, all while smiling in front of me, acting like everything was fine? It wasn't just the work anymore. It was everything. The hugs that weren't hugs anymore. The glances that felt like daggers. The quiet dinners where I could feel my heart shrinking with every passing minute. I tried to fight. I tried to explain myself to him. I sent him texts, trying to get him to see the damage he'd caused. I even apologized for things that weren't my fault, hoping that it would make him listen, hoping that somehow I could fix it. But every attempt only pushed him further away. It was like I was speaking to a ghost, someone who used to care, but was now long gone. And it hurt. More than I could ever put into words, because I had given him everything, my time, my trust, my belief. And he had taken it all, and then, without hesitation, discarded me. I don't know when it happened exactly, but one day I woke up and realized I couldn't breathe anymore. It was like a weight had settled on my chest, something heavy and suffocating that I couldn't shake off, no matter how hard I tried. I would get up every morning, go through the motions, but inside, I was falling apart. It felt like I was living someone else's life, a ghost of the person I used to be. I couldn't stop thinking about him. How could I? He was my brother, my family. We'd been inseparable growing up. We used to finish each other's sentences, laugh about the same stupid things, share our hopes and dreams like we'd always be on the same side. But now, every thought of him twisted inside me like a knife. Every memory felt like it had been stolen, turned into a lie, and I hated myself for still caring. I hated myself for not being able to just let go. Why couldn't I just walk away? He had already made his choice. He didn't need me. But I was, stuck, trapped in this endless loop of wanting his approval, his love, even after everything he'd done. Maybe it was because I had built everything around him, my career, my sense of purpose, my identity. And when he tossed me aside, it felt like he took that with him. The guilt. It was suffocating. Every time I tried to move forward, I'd remember what he said, how he made me feel like I wasn't enough, how I had let him use me. And it wasn't just about the company anymore. It was about me, who I had become, the person I had allowed myself to be. A shadow of someone who was so desperate for validation, they let themselves be trampled on. But it wasn't just guilt. It was longing. There were nights when I would lie awake, staring at the ceiling, wishing things had gone differently. Wishing I could go back to when we were us, before the betrayal, before the silence, before he turned into someone I didn't recognize. But it wasn't just that. I wanted to fix things. I wanted to tell him everything I was feeling. How much it hurt, how much I wanted him to acknowledge what he'd done. But I couldn't. I didn't even know if he'd listen. I didn't even know if he cared anymore. And then there were the moments when I would catch myself thinking, what if he still needs me? What if he just doesn't know how to say it? What if he's waiting for me to fix this? And that thought, that desperate hope, would send me spiraling again. I would send him a message or pick up the phone, and then nothing. Silence. Cold. Every time. Like I was reaching out to someone who had already moved on from me. And yet I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop wanting him to want me, to need me. Even after all the damage, I wanted us to be family again. I wanted him to remember that I was more than just the person who helped him get ahead. I wanted him to remember that I was his. But he didn't. And that was the worst part. I was just another thing in the rear view, a casualty of his rise. I would sit in front of the mirror some days, trying to remember who I was before him, trying to find pieces of myself in the reflection, but all I saw was someone who was lost, someone who had given everything and was left with nothing. My mind would race with questions. Why didn't I see it coming? Why didn't I listen to the warning signs? How could I have been so blind? It was a spiral I couldn't escape. I wanted to be angry. I wanted to scream, to throw something, to tear him down the way he had torn me apart. But I couldn't. I wasn't strong enough. And even worse, I didn't want to be strong enough. Because if I was, I would finally have to accept that it was over, and I wasn't ready for that. I would sit in silence day after day, wishing I could undo everything. Wishing I could take back my silence, my trust, my loyalty. Wishing I could have fought harder. But instead, I just kept spiraling, deeper into a place I didn't recognize, a place where love, regret, and obsession were tangled together. And I didn't know which was worse. I didn't know how to fix this. I didn't know how to fix me. And the worst part was, I didn't know if I even wanted to anymore. I think about the last time I saw him. It's burned into my mind. A memory I can't escape, no matter how hard I try to move forward. The silence between us was so heavy, so thick, that it felt like we were living in two completely different worlds. I can still feel the weight of it pressing down on me, suffocating me in that moment. I wanted to say something, anything. I wanted to yell, to tell him how much he'd hurt me, how much I was still hurting. But I couldn't. The words were stuck, lodged in my throat, trapped by a mix of fear and resignation. What would be the point? Would he even hear me? I can't even remember exactly what was said. There was a lot of small talk, nothing real. He talked about the company, like he had no idea who I was anymore. It wasn't just the words, it was the way he said them. Like I didn't matter. Like I was a stranger. But it wasn't the words that hurt the most. It was the way he looked at me, or rather, the way he didn't look at me. There was no warmth, no love, no connection, just emptiness. It was then that I realized I was already gone to him. I had already faded into the background of his life. And maybe I had been for a long time. I had convinced myself that there was still something to save, something worth fighting for. But in that moment, I understood. The truth hit me like a punch in the stomach. I wasn't just being ignored. I wasn't just being sidelined. I had been replaced, and I hated myself for still wanting him to fight for me. I hated myself for still hoping. After everything, I was still clinging to the idea of us, of him. But what did I expect? He had already shown me who he was. He had shown me, over and over, that I didn't matter. That I was just a tool, a stepping stone on his way to something bigger. I don't know if he ever realized what he did to me. I don't know if he cares. I don't even know if he feels guilty. What I do know is that every part of me was shattered in that moment, and it hasn't healed since. I look at my parents now, and I see the cracks. They don't say it, but I know they see it too. I can feel their eyes on me, like they're waiting for me to break, like they're waiting for me to snap. I think they're waiting for me to find peace, to move on, but they don't understand. They don't understand how it feels to give everything for someone who's never going to give anything back. They don't understand how deep this hurt goes, how every time I see his name, every time I hear his voice, it feels like I'm falling into a hole I can't climb out of. The worst part is, I don't know what the right ending is anymore. I don't know if there's an ending at all. Is it the silence that I should let go of? Is it the realization that I was never really a part of his life to begin with? Or is the true ending just the acceptance that no matter how hard I try to move forward, a part of me will always be stuck in that moment, that one painful realization that broke me? I don't have the answers. I don't even have the strength to look for them anymore, and that in itself is the hardest part. Because no matter how much I try to convince myself that I'm better off without him, that I'm stronger, that I'm free, the truth is, a part of me is still there, waiting for something to change, waiting for him to come back. But I know he won't, and the worst part is, I'm not sure I even want him to anymore. Because I don't know who I would be if I let go. I don't know who I would be if I finally accepted that I was never meant to be his anymore. I just don't know if I can ever let that part of me die. It's been months, maybe longer. Time has a way of stretching and contracting, like it's trying to protect me from the full weight of what I've been through. I've tried to heal, I've tried to move on, but I still carry it with me. Some days, I think I've come so far, and other days, I feel like I'm still back there, drowning in that silence, trapped in the ghosts of everything that happened. I look at my life now, and it's different, but it's not the same. I've found new things to fill the space he left behind. New friends, new experiences, new parts of myself that I didn't know existed. And yet, there's a part of me that can't fully embrace it. There's a hole in me, one that no one can. See, one that I've tried to fill with distractions and busyness and anything that will stop me from facing the truth. But the truth is, I'm not okay. Not really, and maybe I'll never be. I see his face sometimes in my dreams, or when I'm walking down the street and hear a voice that sounds like his. For a second, my heart skips, and I feel like everything will be okay again. But then I wake up, and the reality hits me like a cold slap to the face. He's gone. He's not coming back. And I have to keep going without him, without us. I thought I'd forgive him. I thought, eventually, I'd be able to look back and just accept what happened, move on with no lingering anger. But I still feel it. I still feel the sting of betrayal, the ache of longing for something that was never really there. Maybe it's my fault. Maybe I wanted it too much. Maybe I gave him too much power over my life. Maybe I let him break me. I don't know if he thinks about me. I don't know if he's learned anything from what he did. Does he even care? Does he feel guilty? Or is he just moving forward, like I never existed? I guess that's the hardest thing to face. The possibility that I meant nothing to him, that I was just another piece of his puzzle that didn't fit, and he tossed me aside without a second thought. And yet, here I am, still haunted, still waiting for something that will never come. Some kind of closure, some kind of apology that will make it all okay. But I've learned the hard way that the world doesn't work like that. You don't always get the answers you need. You don't always get the justice you deserve. Sometimes you just have to live with the scars and move forward, even if it feels like you're walking through life with broken pieces inside you. I don't know if I'll ever truly heal from this. Maybe I'll carry it with me forever. Maybe it will be the thing that shapes me, that defines me. Maybe it will be the thing that makes me stronger, or maybe it will be the thing that keeps me broken. I don't know. I don't have the answers. I don't even know if I want the answers anymore. All I know is that I'm still here. I'm still breathing. And maybe that's enough for now. Maybe, in time, I'll find a way to let go of the part of me that's still holding on. Maybe, eventually, I'll learn how to live without him. Without the brother I thought I knew. Without the person I thought I could always count on. Maybe one day I'll look back and realize that I'm not just surviving. I'm living, I'm thriving. But until then, all I can do is keep walking. Forward. Keep putting one foot in front of the other. Keep finding pieces of myself in the mess. And maybe, just maybe, I'll be okay. Eventually. Eventually.